Hey everyone, it is summertime, and this time of year it's coming into July, and the bass are starting to stack up deep here in the lakes in Virginia. These reservoirs are really deep, and they like to get on those main lake points, on those ledges, and stack up and ambush a lot of bait fish. I'm going to talk to you today about my power fishing techniques, the 3 baits that I power fish with in the summer, the techniques that I utilize with those baits to help you catch big bass in deep water in the summertime. Stay tuned. Shane Flynn Outdoors, brought to you by Omnia Fishing. Experience the most personalized tackle shopping on earth. And by MMA Fishing, fight the bite. And by Lead Time Batteries, the ultimate power solution for your boating needs. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo! What a big girl! Hey everybody, like I said in the intro, it is summertime, it is hot. I waited until late in the afternoon. We got some cloud cover came in, may get a little rain here in a few minutes here in Virginia to cut this video because it's been smoking hot. It's 100 degrees for the second day in a row. But I want to talk to you about 3 lures and the techniques I utilize with those lures to help you catch bass in deep water. Today I'm out here and the bass were down off the points, 18 to 22 feet off some structure, off the deep web. We got, in this lake we got deep weed lines. Like I caught a bass in 32 foot of water on a weed edge line. So this lake is like that on a deep running crankbait. So I want to talk to you about the lures that I use this time of year to catch big bass and the techniques to use them and the rod and reel setups. We'll just go over everything real quick, and we'll start with the first one. My first lure that I'm telling you I'm going to use this year a lot is a deep diving crankbait. And this is the Rapala. This is the 20-foot diving crankbait. You've all seen this one probably. This is one of the staples of deep diving crankbaits. Has a very subtle rattle, a good wobble. I'm gonna have this one tied on or one deeper. So I have 2 crankbaits tied on. Either have one in that from 24 to 18. This one's right at 20 that I was using today. And then the other crankbait I'm gonna have tied up, if I can find it, is this guy right here. I'm gonna have a 8 to 12 foot diving crankbait. This is a 6 cent. This is the Crush 250. I think it's a 7 to 11 foot model. But you wanna have something that you can run over the top of points, like say early in the morning or late afternoon like it is now, that's a little bit shallower. If they're up on those flats feeding, you wanna have something a little bit shallower that you can fish with. So a couple things I'll tell you about the setup for my crankbait rods, and both of them are very similar. Actually the same rod. I have a Pedigree, the MMA Pedigree rod, which is an awesome crankbait rod. It's a C-blended, it's a blended composite rod. It has a good moderate flex to it, as you can see here. And when you have those treble hooks in those bass, you got enough play in your rod to keep them stuck in there. You really want a good moderate action rod with your crankbaits. And the MMA Pedigree, I have one in 7.4 and 7.11. You want to be able to throw really, really far. So you want to have a casting reel that you can get out there 125, 135, 140 feet. I usually have my forward-facing sonar set at 100, so I want to be able to throw past that. And I want to get my crankbait down deep before it gets to the target, so I have a high-speed gear ratio reel. Now, a lot of people like 6 to 3, 6 to 5 because it's not too hard on them. I like, this is a Daiwa Zillion on this Pedigree rod, 12-pound fluorocarbon, 8 to 5:1 gear ratio. I want that crankbait to get down deep to the target. Now, there's 2 techniques I use when I'm fishing a crankbait this time of year. I'll show you real quick. The first technique I have to do is I want to, again, get a lot of cast on there. I do that at about 130 feet, and I just burn it. I mean, I just burn this thing all the way back in. I bounce it off everything. I want to hit every stump, every rock down there, just let it deflect and bring it in. That's retrieve number 1. The second retrieve, again, I want to get out there long ways, about 130, 140 feet, and I'm going to get that bait down real quick, and I'm going to let it pause. Hit it again, pause. Hit it again, pause. All the way back to boat. Hit it again, pause. That high-speed gill ratio gets it way down quick. When you pause it, it floats back up real quick, and I just do that all the way in. A lot of times they'll crush it on that pause, or right when you go to hit it again, they just blast it. So those are the 2 different retrieves I use with my crankbait during the summer and you want to be able to get down there deep with your crankbaits. Now, what crankbaits do I recommend? Of course, I love Rapala. Some that I really fell in love with are the 6 Cents Crush series. I got the 250, 300, and 500. The 500 goes down to 24 feet. The Crush 300 down to 19, and that's the one I was just throwing down 7 to 11 feet. Really good crankbaits, and there's nothing wrong with the old Strike King XDs. Really good quality deep diving crankbaits. What I would tell you is I switch them up because they all have subtle differences in rattles and wobble. And that wobble and rattle sometimes can make a difference. The other one I'll tell you I've been experimenting with is the River to Sea, the Tactical DD Crank 75 from Tactical Bassin. Another good sounding crankbait. I like the rattle in it. And man, it's got you can throw this thing a long way. It's got the extra bearing in to throw it real far. So just have to experiment with your crankbaits. I like the 6 Cents, I like Rapala, and of course the Strike King XDs are really good as well. Now, the second lure that I want to talk to you about that I fish with, that I catch a lot of big bass with, if you watched my channel for a long time last summer, you see me just crushing bigs on this bait, and that is my hair jig. So hair jig is something I have tied on. I have this tied on through the winter as well, but it really works in the summer best. I fish this on a heavy, this is my submission rod. It's a 7'4" heavy, fast action tip rod with 18 pound fluorocarbon, Sunline fluorocarbon. Again, high speed gear ratio, 8 to 1 to 1, Daiwa Tatula, SVTW. And the way I retrieve that, there's two retrieves. There's one that I like to fish with, and I'll show one that a lot of fishermen like to use as well. But again, you want to be able to throw way past your target of your live scope if you're using forward-facing sonar. Throw past it. So you want to get that bombed way out there. It's almost 200 feet. And the technique I like to do is let that drop all the way to the bottom, and then as soon as it gets down to the bottom, is I give it just a violent rip up and pick up the slack with as it goes down, the high speed gear ratio, and I feel it. If they hit it on the way down, I can feel it. And then as it gets see it just hit the bottom again, and I rip it. I like them, as soon as it hits the bottom, I want it to come back up. I don't want it to rest on the bottom. So again, ripped it, and just all the way back to the boat. Reel down to your line. You can pick up a lot of line with your high speed gear ratio there, all the way back. Now the other way that people like to retrieve this is by reeling it and killing it. And that works. I'll demonstrate that. A lot of people throw it out, let it hit the bottom. They reel it and kill it. Kind of keep the line there. Reel it, kill it. Reel it, and then kill it. All the way back to the boat. Just quit reeling and let it drop back down. It's like a shad darting away from them. That works. I don't typically use that technique. I have a couple times, caught a fish on it or two. I really like the hard jigging up and down. That really seems to be the technique that the bass utilize the most. They hit it the most. And man, I've caught some bigs on this. And by the way, you don't put any trailer on it. You fish it just straight out of the package. I recommend the Jenko Magnum Big Wig hair jig. I fish it in half, 3/4, and 1 ounce, depending on how deep I am. It's a 3/4 ounce today. 6 Cents has a new hair jig. It's pretty sweet. I've got one in my tackle box. I'll probably be using that some this summer. But I recommend the Jenko Magnum Big Wig hair jig, and you can pick that up at Omnia Fishing. All these lures you can pick up at Omnia Fishing, obviously, and get your 15% off with discount code SFO24. So make sure you have good heavy line, fluorocarbon, extra or heavy action rod with that high speed gear ratio for your swim jig. Now the last lure that you haven't seen me fish much, and I'm gonna get it in my net. Nope, I got it out. And that is the Flutter Spoon. So I started fishing this last year quite a bit, and I'll tell you, earlier this week I was out fishing, and I had a bass almost rip the rod straight out of my hand when he nailed this Flutter Spoon. It surprised me how hard they hit this Flutter Spoon. So this one, a little bit different setup. You want that 18 to 20 pound test line. I got 18, I think I got 18 I got 18 pound Sunline on here. High-speed gear ratio, again, when you're using your rod to move your baits, you want that high-speed gear ratio to pick up that slack quickly. And you're gonna be doing that with this retrieve that I'm gonna show you here in just a second. Extra heavy rod, extra heavy. This is in a 7'4". This is one of my few halos that I still have, but extra heavy rod. And the reason being is you want to horse the fish in when you get them on a flutter spoon. And why? Because physics is against you with the flutter spoon. You get them on this hook in their mouth, and they start shaking their head and jumping. The weight of this flutter spoon is going to help them dislodge that bait. So you want to get these fish in quick. So I would say as soon as you hammer them, don't mess around with it. Get them in quick. Don't let them jump if you can help it. I know you can't help it all the time, but the more it jumps, the more likely you're going to lose a fish on a flutter spoon. So what brand of flutter spoon do I like? I like the Lake Fork flutter spoon in the 4 and 5 inch. They've got a couple different colors that are really, really good. Actually, all of them are really, really good. So depending on your hatch of your lake, I just look at the colors there that you think would work best for you. I have like the blue back and silver, and then I have the silver shad. The silver flash is the one that I was using the other day, doing really well. I fish them in 4 inch and 5 inch, and you can even get them 7 and 9 inches. Now I'm going to primarily fish 4 and 5 inch this year. I may move up to a bigger one depending on how well I do and how many big ones I catch, but they are a big bass catcher. You can probably watch 5,000 YouTube videos of people catching big bass in the summertime on the flutter spoon, but definitely recommend. I'll show you the technique I utilize to fish the flutter spoon. Again, you want to have a rod you can cast a long ways past your forward facing sonar if you're using it, and throw way out there. And what I do is I just let it start to drop. It's going to flutter down, and almost as it's going to get down to the bottom, I'm setting 15 foot of water. There's some bass right there. They're suspended. That might not be bass. Let it get almost down to the bottom, and just like a hair jig, I'm going to rip it up real quick. Now the difference is I want to reel down to it real quick because it flutters down, and they will hammer it on the drop. And if you got too much slack in your line, you may not feel them hammer that lure. So, you know, again, as soon as it starts to flutter back down the bottom, I rip it back up, get down to the lure, and you can see I have tight line as it flutters down, and you will just feel them hammer that thing. And like I said, they almost jerked it out of my hand earlier this week when I was fishing with it. And again, pump it up and reel down, and you'll feel that flutter spoon flutter down all the way back to the boat. So that's the technique I recommend with the flutter spoon. Big, heavy, extra heavy action rod that you can horse fish in with. 18, 20 pound fluorocarbon is what I recommend. High speed reel. You know, I fish nothing with Daiwas. They all do really well for me. So anyways, that is the 3 lures that I recommend, folks, for my power fishing. This is my power fishing techniques that I like to use here in the summer. Now I'm gonna have another video on my summer finesse techniques that I like to use for deep water bass coming out here pretty soon. But those are 3 lures that I think you can utilize, and utilize those techniques that I showed you to catch some big bass this summer. Well, hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode. Hit the old thumbs up. I appreciate every one of you who watch my episodes. And until next time, tight lines and have fun fishing.